Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Razoo Learns AFK Journey. And today we're going to do the last video on the wishlist series. Well, that is before we do a review, which is something I want to do in this channel more often, of the things that I did. But for the wishlist, this will be the last video. In case you haven't seen the other videos of the wishlist series, I would totally recommend you to watch the first video, because in that video I'm explaining a bit about all the things that this is about, what makes a good character, and what are the guidelines for me to build these character lists. So now, as we have already covered all 4 factions, there's only one faction left, and this is the famous whale faction, which is the Celestial and Hypogeans. And you probably have looked at the screen quite a bit, and you might already have gotten a couple of these, but you know, you probably have also seen that it's quite expensive to get these, because these little orbs that you see here are not precisely easy to get unless you want to spend some money on that. And before I talk a bit about like how you can get these orbs and where you can spend money, or if you don't want to spend money, where are the opportunities to get these, I just want to go through the available characters so that you have an idea which one you want to push. Because what is true about the other characters that you probably want to focus on the most important one first is even more important here, because these characters are so expensive. Okay, now one thing first is none of these characters are precisely bad. They are all good, and if you push them beyond a certain point, which is at least Mythic Plus and probably S Plus and X10, so 3 stars or more, then you have a very good character at hand. Very good, and most of the times outpacing other characters. However, not all of them are suited for all modes, and most of them are actually only suited for PvP, which makes them of lesser interest if you're not planning to push for all of these, aka spending a lot of money. Okay, so as of that, I would actually separate these characters into 2 sections. One section is PvP only, and the other section is used in more than one mode. And for that, I just want to go through all the different characters. That said, I did not pull all of them, so I have limited experience with them, or hands-on experience with them, but I have seen videos around that and also have some experience in playing against them in Arena. Okay, so let's first start with Burial. Burial is one of these PvP-only characters, and he essentially can create like shades that run around, so copies of the of your opponent. He can possess one opponent where he basically is unkillable and does quite a lot of damage if you push him a bit. And later on, he can even die once. So he dies and will revive as long as there's another character who has died, and you will do that once. So as I said, a PvP only character, you rarely see him, and I think it's one of the least pulled characters. So yeah, and I haven't seen him a lot. So next character that we're going to talk about is Dunlinger, who is actually also PvP only in my opinion. Dunlinger has this feature where he can block either heals or ultimates for everyone on the map, so including your team. But if you push him beyond M+, then you can exempt one unit, which is I think the rearmost, from your team, so that this unit can do ultimates. He's, because of that, more often used with another very strong unit, and most often that is Diurnal, because Diurnal does a lot of damage. He takes a bit of time to get running, but when he's getting running, like, he's just bursting through the team. Yeah? So for example, he has the spear that he throws through the arena and will hit multiple opponents in the line of the spear. Then he goes up into the air and fires like AoE fields that make a lot of damage. In combination with Dunlinger, they're the D&D or Din or whatever you want to call that. Like, there's like a combination that whales normally run, that it was pretty effective and very hard to come by. Yeah, but as you have already heard, these 2 are also like PvP only, and yeah, characters that are mostly only taken by whales. I have to say that Diurnal was used in AFK stages a bit, but nowadays isn't anymore because there's stronger characters. Then we come to Athelia, Athelia, I don't know. So she's very new, so I have very limited knowledge about her because on my server nobody got her. However, she's said to be the best PvP character nowadays, and there's even combinations which are extremely hard to get by because she does so much damage and she can focus on a target and just kill that target and it goes to the next one, so she can snowball through a team. And when she's killed, she becomes this lance, which is not killable, which does 50% of her original damage. So she can persist during battle, she does a lot of damage, but her main use is in PvP. So again, limited knowledge of her. Like if you are all in PvP and you have the resources, then Athelia is probably a good pick to build. But as I said, be warned, like outside of PvP, I haven't seen her at all. So I know of none of the setups she's being used. Then we come to Skalita, which is probably the PvP only unit that everybody has built, or many people have built, because like this was one of the very early units, and in PvP she was very strong, and that is because like first she ascends, yeah, so she's out of the battle, but she shields units, and by that has some use. And when she comes down and your team is still alive, she will basically kick the other team off the map if they are below a certain health threshold. And that is why there were these stalling teams where you had like a lot of healers and tanks, and basically just trying to survive to the point until Skalita comes down and wipes the map. Nowadays, not used that often anymore, but you still see her in PvP. So then we come to the first unit that is actually on the brink of these units who are viable in PvP and other modes. And this is Crionara. Crionaya, or Elsa as I call her. So the Ice Queen is pretty strong because she can entrap like a good portion of the team into this ice realm where she does a lot more damage, I think like 200% or even more, and basically normally wipes off whoever is in that area. So that is why she's extremely strong in PvP if you don't kill her first, because she's very squishy. Yeah, so if you want to use her, you have to protect her. So I had a map where I played against someone who had her on the setup, and I didn't even see her because she was on a hidden field, and she died within the first second. So I never saw her actually in action, which also shows that she's very squishy. But if she survives, then she can be very strong and wipe off the team. Her use in Dream Realm is a bit limited. And the reason for that is that even though she provides a shit ton of damage inside this frozen realm, at some point that damage is capped. So that basically means she can do her ultimate twice, and around the third time she does less damage compared to units like, for example, Harak. And that is why you pair her with Harak, which also means you have to build two characters in order to make her run for Dream Realm, which is also why non-whale players or players who want to invest a lot into these units don't build her, because you have to build two units. And same as with Dunlinger or Diurnal, they are mostly used in conjunction, so nobody builds them because you need two units, right? So, and that is why Crionaya is seen, but not that much. Okay, so now we have that done. So all the units that I've currently talked about are of limited use if you're not a spender. Yeah, so if you're free to play, you should definitely keep your fingers off of them, because you won't get a lot out of them unless you just plan to go for PvP, but then again, you won't get a lot of other modes. So now we're coming to the characters who actually see use outside of Dream Realm, and actually quite a lot. The first one is Rainier. So he seems like a PvP unit at first because he has this port where you will exchange two units sitting on the opposite of the map. Yeah. So, and he was used in this OD port strategy that was used a lot in the first seasons, which is, by the way, also the reason why everybody used Arena 3. So, because he would basically exchange some unit with, for example, the healer on the other side, which would weaken the opposite team. However, he does also provide a damage reduction for that unit, and he also debuffs the other unit that basically is targeted and provides some additional damage as far as I remember. So he does do some bit of buffing. So if you use embossing contents, that basically means that you can heal one specific unit and buff the damage. And that is also why you see him in the top performing Dream Realm teams, or some of them, and that is why Rainier is used there. In AFK stages, I haven't seen him, or at least I don't remember having seen him, because normally that porting doesn't make sense if you cross a certain point. So in high deficit stages, I haven't seen him. So one cool thing about Rainier is that he starts working with Mythic Plus. So you don't have to push him very far. And I didn't look up how many pulls you actually need to get to Mythic Plus compared to S Plus, but I think like it's more or less in the middle. So as far as I remember, like pushing something from Mythic Plus to Supreme Plus takes almost as long as pushing someone from 0 to Mythic Plus. So that is why Rainier is something that you can build on the side, so to say, if you have a couple of these pulls left, or if you have some chest or whatsoever. So once you have him, you can use him in quite a lot of modes, and this is pretty awesome, yeah, because you have a good character that brings you forward with minimal investment. So that's why Rainier is interesting. So the next character is actually two, because these are two damage leaders that see wide use. And the first one is Talene. Talene is used in all modes, AFK stages, in Dream Realm, and in PvP, which means she's a good candidate to pull. However, her main use is groups where you have a lot of enemies, because she has this AoE effect where she does a lot of damage to most of the map. Yeah, and if you do it correctly, if you group her up with a healer like Smokey or Ludovic, she can sustain that ultimate for the majority of the battle. So it can be that she goes up into this flaming mode and just stays there and does damage, which makes her extremely viable in some situations. Not all, but some. In PvP, there's also this buff that she does on the frontmost unit, where this frontmost unit does a bit more damage, and she's not killable. Or, okay, she is killable, but she will revive every now and then. So, which makes her also pretty viable. And that is why she's one of the two damage dealers that you probably do want to build. It's a bit a matter of taste where you want to go to, because there's another one which I want to present, and that is Harak. Harak is also damage dealer, also used in all modes, but in contrast to Talene, he's more single target focused. So because like he will just do a massive amount of damage to a single target, and when this target is not being killed, he will just jump and eat another target, which can be from your team or from the other team. And this is also, I guess, why people don't like Harak that much, because he's so hard to control. So you have to be very careful in building your team so that he does not eat the wrong unit first. Yeah, so that is why he's a bit unpredictable. However, in Dream Realm, he's one of the strongest unit, and if you pair him up with, for example, Foresto, which we will see in a minute, he can deal a lot of damage, and even more than Talene. So now you can basically decide, do you want to have a unit that does more of the AoE style damage and can revive, or do you want to have one unit which is a bit unpredictable but does more damage to a single target than Talene? Yeah? So this is basically what you need to choose for. Some people choose Talene, some people choose Harak. So let's see where this goes to, but I think they're both occupying the same slot, and it depends a bit on where you want to go if you pick the one or the other. So the next unit is the Twins. The Twins are new in this season, but it was basically clear from the beginning that they would have a big impact, because they are a supporting unit, and they are, next to Rainier, the only supporting unit in this faction. And they will basically buff all kinds of good things to the team, but they are a bit hard to use, because they have this line between them, and you have to make sure that this line is on a certain set of fields. So essentially, you need to place them in a way that you can place units in between them, and you're not allowed to skew that. So you have to have a direct line between the two, and everybody in this field will get the buff. They have the highest haste buff of all units, and as I said, a couple of others. So they are used in AFK stages, in Dream Realm, and to some extent in PvP. So there are players using them, but currently not so much. But I don't see a lot of reasons why people are not doing that, aside from the maps not being ideal to place them on. So sometimes it's very hard to place them. So that's, I think, why they are not used in PvP that much. Yeah, but they could. So for Dream Realm, they are in really all highest performing teams, and that is why they are so important. So essentially, the twins are either the best or the second to best unit of this bulk here to pull. So whether they are first or second depends a bit, but I have some arguments for another unit to go first, and this I want to review, and that is Feresto. Feresto is a tank, so actually he's not one tank, but he's two, and he is, in my opinion, over all factions, over all different modes, the best tank in the game. So, and that is basically because he's two, so you have two. He can revive his copy, so he is the main and the copy, and if you kill the copy first, then not only do you debuff the enemy that killed the unit, but you also he will also recreate that unit if you go past a certain X level. I think it's X10, so 3 stars or something. Or was it S+? So I always mix these up. Yeah, so after a certain level, he is able to revive that unit. No, it was X. S+ is the shield. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, so if you place him in the correct way, he will also create a shield around himself, so he's harder to kill. He will do AoE damage, mage damage, yeah, and he will also buff the units behind them. So he provides a buff, he's 2 tanks, he has revivability skills, he does AoE damage. So I think that is all pointing like this unit is extremely good and can be used in all modes. And that is why I see him having a bit of an edge over the twins, because the twins are a bit more tricky to use over Feresto, and Feresto has, I think, even a tiny bit more use cases than the twins. So if you're new and you want to push, I would actually push for Feresto first, but then I would also push for the twins. Yeah, so that is like that. So some people would say, hey, go for the twins first, but in my opinion, like, a good tank is more valuable than a good support unit, especially as you have other support units which can to a certain degree fill the place of the twins, but Feresto not so much. Yeah, so that is why I would think like the best unit to pull is Feresto, then come the twins, then you have to decide whether you want to go for Talene or Harak, and in between somewhere do Rainier. Yeah. Okay, so these are the units. Now, the question is like, how would you progress them? It's like, how would you basically pull them? And there is 2 versions of that. So there is players who push like a unit completely to S+, then do the next unit to S+, and continue on that. And then there is like that is more like the vertical approach. Right? Vertical means you build something, you make something more powerful until it is not more possible, then you do the next unit. The contrast to that is the horizontal approach, where you try to build a lot of units more or less at the same time, so you get them equally up. So in this case, you would basically take multiple units to Mythic Plus to have like the whole set. Like you see at the bottom, like the bottom 4 that you see here, you could go for that, or Mythic Plus, and then you have them. That is actually what I did. This can be good, because it allows you to progress a bit quicker because you have more options at hand. But after a certain point, you just cannot compete anymore, because the S+ units will always outperform the M+ units. So at that point, you have to build them to S+. And as I said in the beginning, going from M+ to S+ takes a lot longer. So you are stuck in the situation where you can do everything, but not quite. Yeah, so you're always competing to other players who are better, and you just think it's very frustrating, and it takes you ages to go from M plus to S plus. So that is extremely shitty in terms of motivation if you are in that situation. So if you go for S plus first, this is a lot better because you have this unit that is basically best in slot and you can work with it. Okay, so speaking of that, we have to see like how can we get to this. So first off, you have to see that it takes you 4 pulls to get a guaranteed unit. And there is the downside of this mode is while there are a couple of very cool pulls that you're going to have, like this 5 Semper Essences or here this 9,000 diamonds, these are really rare. So normally you just get shit out of that mode. So it's very unfulfilling. Yeah? So, and you're more oftentimes you need 40 pulls to get a new unit. However, this is not the only place where you can get them. And there is other places which you definitely need to look at where do you get them. For example, the recruiting shop. Yeah, so here you get once per month, you get a couple of these. And I would say, as you need other summons to get these, you should really save so that you can buy these each month. And make sure that you have enough to buy these each month. Yeah? So as we're currently at the beginning of the month, you see that I could currently buy, I think, 2 of these, and you can buy up to 3, and then I have still this. So I have still a couple of pulls to do this month in order to get these. So if you're free to play, getting these each month should be your focus because they are so hard to get. And these are a lot easier to get, and this one here, the standard invite you get from other sources. So you see I didn't even touch it this month, but the others I got because I had enough recruits. But these are definitely number 1. Then you have the guild shop where you can also get these for diamonds, and you should also save up to get these once per month and get them. And if you have a guild that is halfway decent performing, you can also directly pull one, which is, I think, like the best way to get these. I currently don't pull, even though I could, because I'm waiting to get like 10 of these, so I can hope for a double pull. So then I don't have to get Harak here, but I can instead get Telene, which is my second one. So that's why I don't pull it yet, but yeah, I'm just waiting for the orbs to come. So the next thing is not this one, but the arena. Same thing here. Yeah, before you pull any other unit, you should make sure that you can get these every month, so the top ones every month, and this one every week. So you're progressing with that. So this should be your focus before you go on the others, because like these orbs are one of the most expensive things to get, and they should be priority over everything else, because otherwise you will take ages. And if you miss one out per month, that is bad because it won't come back. Good, so these are the ones you can get for free and through progressions. There's of course also modes where you can get orbs, like I think here for the current pearl thing you didn't get any. Let me check. There used to be one. No, we didn't get one this time. But there were like other modes like the crystal clash, or it's called, where you get these. So if you have the chance to go for these, go for them. Yeah, so there's also like a lot of events now that you can look out for, and there you also have them. And normally if you have them, you should definitely aim for them first before you go for other things. I don't remember where we could actually get those. So if you have a shop where you can get them, get for these orbs first, always. Yeah, and then go for the rest. Okay, so these were the free ones. Now, when we come to paid, we're getting quickly into the whale run, because if you look at that, these are the limited edition packages, and there's not a lot. If there is the new Celestial Hypogeans, you sometimes have a rather cheap one, in quotations, that you can get, like in the range of this one, this 375, which you can buy if you want to, which is okayish. But then you're already in this area. Now, and in general sense of spending, the less the number up here, which is here currently 650%, smaller it is, the worse the deal is. Yeah, so, and you can actually calculate that. And if you go beyond 500%, it's essentially not worth going for that thing, unless you want to spend stuff, right? Or unless you have a lot of money to spend. So where do you get those? And the answer is most of the time, or the easiest way to get them are through these pre-orders. 4,000% is quite a number, yeah. So I think it's one of the highest bargains that you can get. And with each pre-order, you get these orbs. So if you want to spend money, this is a good deal. Not only because there is the orbs, but also you get the other stuff. And if you have this FOMO problem that I also have, and then this is actually a good deal. It's a bit expensive though, so it's not for everyone. So where else can you get them? Well, you can get them also through these path. Yeah, so I think at the end of the path you normally get these, and sometimes you have even paths where there's more. I think there was this was the original one? No, there was one where you had more, but I think this was the 1 year path. So, and if you want to buy these, you have basically two options. You have to take the small one or the big one. So, yeah, unless you're into these little thingies here, so this roadly stuff, it doesn't really make sense to spend more money on that. So, yeah, so that is basically my recommendation. Like, if you want to buy something, you should go for the pre-orders if you're willing to spend that much money, because I think it's like 30 euros or something. And then the pass, which are a lot less, which is like less than 10 euros normally, which I think are fine even for medium spenders. If you're free to play, sorry for you, then you have to go for the freely available ones, and yeah, then make sure you spend them wisely. Okay, so that's it for the Celestial Hypogene faction. I hope that helps you a bit in progressing this, and yeah, gives you a bit of insight on what to go for and what to use. And this marks the end of the wishlist series. As I said in the beginning, I'm planning to do another video, because what we currently have is the Ravaged Realm season. So end of season, you always have the Ravaged Realm. So this lovely bugger here. And the cool thing about that is that you have the different troops, which are one faction only, and you can essentially see which units are popping up there. So you can see, like, are the units that I said are good popping up here, or are they not? The only thing that you need to be aware of is that this is boss content only. So you will see units good for bossing content. You won't see units good for PvP or AFK stages here. But it's still a good idea to review the last videos. So that is something that I'm going to do in the next days and go through that, so that yeah, you can actually validate, like, what's popping up here, what are good units, what are not, and are those that we said are good appearing here or not. Okay, by that I say thank you very much, thank you for listening, and see you next time.